Welcome back, folks. Another Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr., and we're coming to you following a Yankees win on opening day on the road against the Houston Astros, who are a thorn and a pain in the ass. What a win, Gary. I mean, it didn't, start the best. I will admit I had some salty tweets going out there on X or whatever the hell you want to call it.
I saw it about Houston.
Oh, I was not having a good time. And then all of a sudden I was like, damn, I'm having a pretty good time.
Yeah.
So look, Gary, my thoughts real quick here. To come back from 4-0 on the road in Houston against that lineup, against that pitcher, Fromber did not have it today. But
No.
The fact that they were still able to overcome it says a lot. I understand it's one game, but immediately I thought, wow, that's resiliency I did not see at all last year. And furthermore, to see the newcomers in Verdugo, to see the newcomers in Soto, to see Cabrera step up after we were kind of saying, no, he's not. And trust me, it's just one game. But just to see those guys, it was a collective effort. Nestor struggling at the beginning, and then the way he's able to battle back and finish strong. Yankees drawing 9 walks. We got a lot to touch on, but I felt very good about this game.
Yeah, 9 walks. I think that Juan Soto guy's gonna help. You freaking kidding me?
Did he see like 40 pitches today?
He really did. I think he saw more pitches today than Aaron Hicks saw in all of 2022.
Oh, good God.
And what's amazing, and that's no knock on Aaron Hicks, but good Lord. I mean, this is the thing that's so exciting. So Nestor Cortez was pretty much terrible today, right? He did not have his stuff. And for the most part, he's a craft guy. He's going to try to work inside. He's going to throw a lot of cutters. And for somebody who doesn't watch a ton of Nestor Cortez out there, I'm here to tell you right now, he throws a lot of fastballs. Okay. And it can get frustrating to watch. But here's the crazy thing. All he had to do in this situation was keep the Yankees in the game. And what's amazing is last year, if this team went down 3-0, the game is over. And I know that sounds ridiculous. The game was over. Okay. As soon as I saw the Yankees, it felt over
early on.
For the most part, it made sense. Part of that's mentality, but another part of it is when a team knows that their 5 through 9 hitters look the way it did last year. Why would you think that the game's in play? If Nestor Cortez doesn't have it or Garrett Cole didn't have it in 2023, the Yankees weren't dropping 8 or 9 runs in a game. The Yankees didn't feel like we can put up crooked numbers. And long behold, I actually tweeted and said, the Yankees need to get themselves back into this game. Something I never said last year. They immediately did that. They immediately tie the game. Framber Valdez, who you text me and you were like, this is really frustrating, this whole game, because Framber Valdez does not have it. Today he had 6 walks. He walked more guys than he struck out.
Exactly.
Okay? And the Yankees were rolling into a couple double plays there early. It was annoying. But long behold, all they had to do was get it to your boy, Ian Hamilton, Jonathan Loaizaga, who pitched 2 huge innings today. He was great.
Yes.
Okay. The dude was great. Putting the ball on the ground, he was excellent. And if you look at this roster, just in terms of offense only, which is what I came into the season caring about, we had excellent at-bats throughout the lineup. I know it's one game, but when you see a player going lefty on lefty the way we saw Verdugo and we saw Soto, we saw a multitude of lefties in our lineup today having great at-bats. We weren't doing that last year. Hardly ever. So I'm excited just in terms of what this offense did. And I know we're going to get a better Nestor Cortez. So it kind of goes to show you a little sneak peek of what we'll do.
Yeah, and I mean, what's been the name of the game? Just stay in it until Garrett Cole comes back, right? Just stay above 500, stay in the race, and then I think they're going to be in really good shape. They might not be like in the race. They might be in like the mix of one of the better teams in the league. I mean, I really believe that because, with this offense, it is legit. This was a down day And we saw in a down type of day where you don't get a ton of power in the lineup, you got a home run. Oh, just like we all thought, Oswaldo Cabrera would hit the first home run of the New York Yankees season with Juan Soto joining the team.
As much crap as I talked, he was like, well, hold on a second. Hold this beer.
Yeah, well, we still have to talk about him a little bit because I know, he ends up hitting 2 for 4 today. He was still chasing. It doesn't seem like he's that much different. And let's not forget that is who he was the year they called him up. And he was, he got off to that quick start and he had some of those big moments and it kind of covered up some of the little issues in his game that are big issues, but not focusing too much on that right now. Let's focus on the fact that no one is talking about the fact that the Yankees shut the Astros out from inning 3 to inning 9, just complete shut out. And that's the thing that I laugh at is nothing against Michael K. I thought, he called a good game today and he's one of my guys. And by the way, shout out to Joe Girardi. I thought he did a great job in the booth today. But
that was weird seeing him in there.
It was a little weird, but
it was weird,
and Paul O'Neill's always great. But man, can we stop saying the Yankees stole this game? They dominated the Astros. They really struggled at the beginning, but I mean, it's exactly what I texted you. I was like, how did they steal this game? Valdez could not find the strike zone. The umpire's trying to get him to the strike zone. I mean, some of those calls, especially Soto, and I like that, I think it was O'Neill that brought it up. He's like, you have a guy like Soto that just sees the plate better than everyone else. And he's sitting up there like, well, that wasn't a strike. Like, that's just not my opinion. That's like, that's not a strike. And he got hit on one of those. And actually, Gary, I want to touch on this real quick. The one that was high and inside, right? A little bit high and inside. It's not, to me, it's off the plate, right? I mean, it is like you saw when he struck out looking, right? You clearly saw it was off the plate. But people will say, and I got this on Twitter, well, it's too close to let it go. To me, that's nonsense because I played baseball and you played baseball. And if my job is to now work the count back to full, because that's your job. I mean, you get to 0-2, yes, protect the plate. I agree with that. But a ball, you should leave it as a ball if you can. Am I wrong for saying that like Soto shouldn't be like held against him for not swinging on that 0-2 pitch high and inside?
So this is the thing. People want to cherish everything that Barry Bonds did offensively. And a lot of people will go to the lengths of saying that he's the greatest offensive player of all time. Now, the reason for that is because he had a complete command of the strike zone. I tell you right now, if you went back and watched the tape, and I've watched plenty of tape on Barry offensively, I can tell you, Barry Bonds took a lot of pitches inside the strike zone that were strikes, but were outside the zone. Happened all the time. Happened to him more than any other player in Major League Baseball. And each and every time he would turn around, look at the umpire and say, hey, I know you said that was a strike, but I'm one of the best hitters of all time, if not the, and I know that was a ball. But people, they look short term and say, well, he struck out, so it was a negative. But what they don't understand is that Juan Soto is allowing the game to come to him. That's what he's establishing. He's establishing, I'm not going to change and create new boundaries to accommodate you. I'm going to let you know this is a ball. And then you see it trickle down to the rest of the offense. We had Anthony Volpe hitting 6 today. This was the best game I ever saw Anthony Volpe play.
Oh, I know.
And that is no exaggeration. He was absolutely dominant. And you look at it, for people who obviously are watching ESPN, they have busy lives, but we're paid to watch baseball. When you watch Anthony Volpe, he had 1 hit today. Nothing crazy. He didn't leave the ballpark. It wasn't for extra bases. His RBI was a walk, okay? And for me to say it was the best game I ever saw him play, he completely dominated the strike zone, which is the reason why you want Juan Soto to be himself, which is to swing at pitches that he thinks are strikes, because it changes the way young players look at offense. It changes the way these players are trying to change the game. Anthony Volpe last year, and a lot of people watched him play, said The way that he wants to try to change the game is he wants to play gold glove defense first and foremost. Nothing wrong with that. But he wants to leave the ballpark the other way. Short porch and right. He's trying to lift the ball. Today, you didn't see a single swing like that. Not one. You didn't see him leave the zone. Not once. That's Juan Soto changing the dynamic of this offense. That's also, have to give Volpe himself credit, changing what he's trying to do at the plate. I was perfectly happy with seeing Soto take that pitch. I really was.
Absolutely. I thought watching a guy like Soto, and that's the thing, it gets you prepared for the rest of the game. Like, you see Soto's first at bat and you're like, this guy's just leaps and bounds ahead of Glaber. And it's nothing against Glaber, but like after watching Glaber bat and then watching Soto bat, it actually makes you wonder why Glaber's leading off.
But the brains you can see that he's just psychologically, it's just warfare up there. He is completely mentally dominating the game, and it has to be contagious to the rest of the players.
Absolutely.
And you saw how much we walked today. I know I can't just give Juan Soto all the credit for our entire lineup walking.
Well, no.
But what I can say is when you have a two-hitter who saw, how many pitches did he see today? 40?
I definitely think it was close. I saw a graphic or something. It was in the 30s, and he still had another plate appearance to go. So I think he did get to 40. I want to bring up James Rowson, the new hitting coach. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this has to do with him too. I think he deserves a lot of credit. But, I think with Volpe, going back to him and his at-bats, 3 walks led the team today, 3 of the 9. So that's huge. Soto, of course, had 2. The thing with Volpe, though, his at-bats, you could tell Valdez was pitching as if he knew what Volpe was and was like, I don't buy into this new Volpe at all. I'm going to get him to chase. I'm going to get him to swing. That inside pitch he totally didn't bite on. Perfect. He did the hit he had up the middle or whatever. It was literally below. But he saw it so well. He's like, I'm just going to pull the trigger.
And rightfully so, because that's exactly what Valdez should be doing. Anytime you see a player that's working on something, who's trying to make a positive change in their offensive game, you can't just take their word for it. You have to attack them the same way you did last year and make them prove you wrong. And Anthony Volpe, at least in the short term, showed us he's not trying to put the ball in the air, at least swings wise, and the pitches that he's choosing to swing at, the pitches he's choosing to attack, they seem to be on the right track, which is great.
And he just put that on tape. That's really what it comes down to. He just put that on tape. It's 2024. We just started it. I don't think everybody is looking at Anthony Volpe in spring training. I don't think these pitchers are going about that. I think they're focusing more on last year because it's a different, it's a different feel when you're in an actual game. I could be wrong. But now Christian Javier is in a good position where he's like, okay, well, I can learn from, the mistakes of Fromber. Not that it's not that he was wrong for how he pitched him. It's just basically, hey, you're up. You're the first guy to see him this year. Good luck. Also, shout out to Ryan Presley, who's dominant against any other team other than the Yankees. That poor guy, he gets up there and you could just tell he does not want to pitch against the Yankees.
He looks so hard to hit, and then he faces us, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work.
Just battered.
But by the way, Jake, my favorite part about today's game, if you actually stare at the box score, we had 8 hits today. 8.
Oh, I know.
The Astros had 13. Okay. And it still felt like we still should have won that game, which is great, a great feeling. But this is the most important thing. The fact that the Yankees came into a baseball game, were out hit quite easily by 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming into tomorrow, whoever's starting knows I have to beat the Yankees inside the strike zone.
Absolutely.
And I tell you what,
which gives them opportunities.
Right. And not only does it gives the entire lineup opportunities. When you want to know what can we do to get Cabrera at the bottom of the lineup to be doing damage, what can happen? Well, we just said his selection is just not great. There's a few players in our lineup who didn't necessarily have amazing selection last year. They just didn't. But when the entire lineup proves we'll take a walk, and then you have a couple like free swingers up and down that lineup, they get pitches inside the strike zone the following days. And those are the days that they do damage.
So
what we need.
So the Verdugo play that I think a lot of people are talking about in left field, I'm not crazy when I say that nobody last year in left field is making that play, and that's the game.
You don't think Hicks makes that play?
Absolutely not. I don't think anybody in left field last year is making that play. I think Hicks is probably staring down in like just absolute depression and is becoming a meme as whoever hit that is rounding third inside the parking lot. Like, I watched that and I was like, immediately, Verdugo is exactly who we thought Verdugo was going to be. And the sac fly, to me, that piece of hitting, that showed it as well. Stanton looks like Stanton, man. I'm sorry. He looks exactly like Stanton. It's one game.
We can look into each and every player.
Yeah.
Trevino took this pitch. He swung at that, whatever, hit a ground ball. The one player that looked identical today is Giancarlo, and he didn't play terrible.
No.
He didn't play terrible.
He had a hilarious hit.
Yes. Giancarlo is, and again, I said this before the season started, he needs to be perfectly inconsistent. Giancarlo needs to look like George Washington cutting down a tree. And then the following day, he needs to be 2 for 3 with a walk and 2 bombs. That is who Giancarlo Stanton is. I'm not asking for him to change.
But sure, sounds like we could get that tomorrow. Seems like he's in a perfect position. This is one of those games. He goes 1 for 5, and you're like, and then the next game, he does his damage.
Right.
Like you said, 2 for 3, maybe a couple walks and a homer. Permission to be nitpicky here for both of us. I'm going to say this. It's been 2 years. Every time Clay Holmes comes in, I don't trust Clay Holmes. I don't feel good when Clay Holmes is in. I never think the door's closed. Sorry,
I know.
That's the way I feel. It's not Mo. When Mo came in, you're like, it's over. Even at times, Andrew Miller, Chapman would even make me feel that way. I could not feel any more uncomfortable with Holmes in there. And it's not even like when Holmes is pitching well, I still feel that way. I don't know what it is. I just truly don't trust Clay Holmes in the big moment. And to be honest with you, he's not out of the woodwork here. I don't think he pitched particularly well. I understand there was one, I think was off the glove or whatever. I don't even think that was him. I think that was Loizaga. You're talking
about with Glaber.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Because he hit a ground ball up the middle. Glaber didn't make the play. And to be honest with you, Glaber was shaded up the middle. I thought he should have made that play. And maybe I didn't get the perfect angle of it.
That was Loizaga, right?
I'm not exactly sure, to be quite honest with you.
He hit it. So Glaber's playing more closer to the first base side.
Okay.
And he hits it. I think that was Holmes. Where remember he threw, I think I texted you. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, it was ground ball. Yeah, it was, whatever.
Okay.
But Holmes didn't pitch well. And I think it's okay for us to admit that. I mean, if you don't have a Juan Soto in right field and say, Judge was playing center last year, right? And you don't have Judge in right field, whoever's throwing that ball, are they getting him out this time around? I don't know. I think Soto deserves a lot of credit because in the way Judge in the presser post game was basically like, look, it's not even necessarily how he threw the ball. It's that sometimes you get into the big leagues and you're not even playing that ball correctly. You're not even picking that ball up. That's going under your glove. That's the game.
Yeah. Yeah, you know? I'll say this about Holmes. So I agree with you. Of course, he's not Mariano, and that's not really the way you mean it. But Mariano gave us some assurance of we have an understanding of how he's trying to pitch, what his game plan is, and you felt like you were watching somebody executing, and it didn't feel as much of a crapshoot. And Clay Holmes, sometimes he'll get out to the mound, and the Yes broadcast will do a pretty good job, actually, of bringing up what we're looking at. And essentially, at the end of the first at bat, you can tell if Clay Holmes is going to get rocked.
Oh, yeah.
You can usually tell if his sinker ball is moving, if his sinker's moving 2.5 feet and he's throwing 98, you immediately see the location, say, oh, okay, the next 2 hitters have no chance. And then he'll come out there and be the worst guy that we send out there. Because Clay Holmes gave up 3 hits today. I don't know if people were paying attention to that, but Clay Holmes, to Jake's point, didn't pitch well. So not everything can go perfect.
Hader on the other side. Good
Hader
God.
looked like Randy Johnson.
Yeah, you notice they had no interest. They had nothing to do with him. They're like, you could tell the Yankees offense is like, we got 5. If we can't hold him for 5, Hader just won the game. Like
completely ridiculous how good he was. And what's funny is he wasn't that good a few years ago. I think he lost his way a little bit.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying, oh, this guy's washed. He's this, he's that. But the thing about closers is one guy, he can have a 2 ERA, be at the top of his game. Other than like Edwin Diaz, you pretty much don't have any assurance on what you're getting out of the bullpen, especially in today's game where injuries can happen, they can linger, and a guy can have a bad year. You trade him away, and then he's great for like Pittsburgh, some random team.
Closers are weird.
They're weird. I mean, Holmes was sent to us from Pittsburgh, and they're like, I mean, you can have this reclamation project. He throws hard. He's throwing sinkers. He gets to New York, and he was our best arm.
You remember the flamethrower for the Red Sox, Daniel Bard? And then now he was is he still closing for the Rockies?
I'm not sure if he's still closing.
Well, he ain't coming in tonight because
he couldn't no, he's not coming in tonight. They're down. I think it is 16-1. It's probably changed since.
Yeah,
but they're just getting rocked.
Daniel Bard was just that guy who they'd throw in the 7th inning. He throws 105. Good luck. And then all of a sudden, he just ends up being a closer for the Rockies down the road. I mean, that's just like the way closers are weird because they end up being like a setup man. Their promotion would be a closer, right? That's always like, if you're a setup man, you're trying to become a closer, but not all setup men can work. So then all of a sudden you get like long relievers, and then sometimes starters don't work out and they become closers. And I mean, it's like a whole big thing. So Mariano Rivera was supposed to be a starting pitcher. That's what they were hoping he would be. He was dominant through the lineup the first time, and then the second time around they would eat him alive. So eventually he went into the bullpen, relief pitcher, setting up John Wetland. Then he ends up becoming the closer. I think with a guy like Hader, though, I mean, it really makes you wonder why the Yankees didn't go after somebody like that. Because if you don't truly feel like you have that in Holmes, and I don't know how you could feel like you have that in Holmes.
You know what, though? I'm not that upset with it. I know
I'm not that upset.
It's not my money because
I know
since it's not my money, why not just go get Hader? We have the money. I mean, you just saw our evaluation. We're worth $7 billion. But here's the thing. The Yankees, we have an understanding that they're going to pick their battles. Do we go get at the deadline, if we go get a Bieber, or if we go get maybe another bat, someone goes down with an injury, God forbid, the Yankees are going to feel like they don't have the flexibility, as well as the flexibility to re-sign Juan Soto, which everyone has the expectation that we have to do, right? Gleyber Torres.
That after today, you wouldn't be able to get away with it.
No, Gleyber Torres is probably
the Bronx will literally be burning if they don't bring him back.
Right, so Gleyber Torres is probably expecting somewhere in the $15 to $20 million a year range. Now, that might sound ridiculous to some people, but he's one of the best offensive second basemen in the game. Maybe he can't field that great, or you can argue he doesn't field a lick. But guess what? When you rake and you play second base, you're going to get paid. So if the Yankees know this, they know that they've got to pay Juan Soto upwards of $30 million a year. Well, when you do go sign Hader and he gets $90 million from Houston, you've got to match that offer. So if you give away $100 million there, $100 million to Gleyber Torres next offseason, $500 million to Juan Soto, at some point, the money doesn't run out, but you know that the owner's going to be looking over his shoulder saying, hey, who's spending my money? Right?
Yeah.
It's probably not feasible. So this is my whole point here. I'm not shaken up over the fact that maybe we will have a closer that we have some question marks. Maybe we can pull a lot more out of Ian Hamilton, Loaizaga, right? Get some strong appearances there, but maybe not rely on this group. Maybe we should give our starting pitchers more opportunity to go deep into games and let our offense take over games.
Amen.
And I'm cool with that. We saw Texas do it this last year. Why can't we?
So I think, there's a lot of good to take away from this. There's some nitpicky bad. I thought Rizzo looked good at the plate. I was a little pissed off. Looked like he broke his hand, although I guess he dodged that bullet. Man, all I'm thinking is when he's like writhing in pain on the ground, and I'm like, they don't have a first baseman. Like that would just be Austin Wells at that point. Like they don't have anybody else. So, I'm just like, oh, of course, with all the depth, but ended up being okay, which is good. Ian Hamilton gets a hold in this one, which he deserves. Dude was a baller, comes in and just, he's got some nasty stuff. And
is he your favorite player?
He's up there. No. But Loaizaga, like you brought up, like, I mean, he pitched well. I think looking at the way today went down, I understand there's going to be people that, drink the Kool-Aid for Cabrera. I texted you this when Boone was getting interviewed, and they mentioned something about Cabrera, like, oh, he had a great day and hard to take him out of the lineup or whatever comment. And Boone just went and stuttered about 8 times. Like, the plan was clearly for Birdie to play today. His flight doesn't get in until 2 a.m., which we find out. So he's not in the lineup. That makes sense. That's a good manager. That's a good decision. Let him figure it out. He is starting tomorrow. I have no doubt about it. He is going to start at third. What I want is for them to do what you were talking about, what I have already kind of assumed they're not going to do, which is why I moved on to Birdie being the leadoff hitter. Anthony Volpe today showed more leadoff ability than Gleyber's ever showed. I mean, you talk about the speed, you talk about the eye, just being able to work those counts. I mean, absolutely fearless. I like Gleyber as much as the next guy. He is not a leadoff hitter. And what did I say when we found out at the end of our show? We were recording last show. What did I say? I said he doesn't have the speed. I want a guy to have speed on the base paths. That's my biggest issue. So after you see the way Volpe works the count, you see Soto would be batting after him. And then Judge, who he didn't have the best day today, and that's the funniest thing because he had a really nice double, forced a walk, but had some two bad strikeouts. But Judge, works the count. Why not put Rizzo in the 4-hole instead of Stanton?
Oh,
right?
100%. I see that. You
see the sauce here. Now you get 4 guys working the count. And then you're like, oh, I'm so glad I got through those 4 guys. Then you got Stanton at 5, who's just kind of that guy that can always just be a nightmare, right? I mean, on both sides, good and bad. And then now you're talking about Verdugo at the 6 hole, right? So you got Stanton at the 5. So it's Torres, Soto, Judge, Rizzo. So those are your guys. They can work counts. They can get that pitch count way up.
But you want to swap Volpe for Torres at the top.
I do.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. When I want to put Volpe at leadoff, it's not necessarily having to do with something that Gleyber Torres can't do, because Gleyber was excellent last year, which you already knew this.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say is that at some point or another, Anthony Volpe is going to move to the top of the lineup. It's just a matter of when. Because if he didn't, guys, we have to remember what that means. That means we wouldn't put someone on the no trade list so we can protect a 6 hitter. Okay. So essentially what we're saying is that Anthony Volpe is hitting 6 right now, but when he proves himself and when he's got his feet under him, he'll eventually be a top of the order hitter. Those are the untradables. Okay. And the Yankees know this. So it's a matter of when Anthony Volpe takes over at the leadoff spot from Gleyber Torres. Now, if they believe that Gleyber Torres is a part of the future, which I actually would assume that they do, my assumption is that you should probably already make the move now and see if he can handle it. If he can't, then you make the move back. But I can't say just because today we saw one amazing start from Anthony Volpe that calls for him hitting leadoff. But if you really do believe in the changes that they've made to his swing and to his approach, I don't see, considering who's going to be hitting after him, why it would be a problem. I don't. And I don't see it as that much of a risk. I really don't.
No.
If the Phillies can put Kyle Schwarber and just throw him up at leadoff and people move around the lineup all over Major League Baseball, all across both leagues, the Yankees can't make an experiment with their top prospect and put him at leadoff, I think they can afford to do it.
I agree. And it's not the great thing about something like this in baseball is that it's one of 62. So you can experiment. And some would say, well, it ruins the chemistry. No, that is hogwash. It does not ruin the chemistry. Okay. Because Soto, Judge, Stan, Rizzo, they're all going to be hitting around the same, you're not like moving them to the bottom of the order. When you change a leadoff hitter, that can only help you, really. I don't see a way that hurts you because
the approach is get on base.
Yeah, Soto and Judge aren't playing any differently based on Volpe or Torres being up. The difference is now Soto, it's not about Soto, but it's about the pitcher. So you have Volpe who, say, works a 10-pitch at bat and say he even gets Volpe out. He's already onto one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter in baseball, or the two best hitters in baseball, back to back.
That's right.
And you're already at an 11 pitch count before even seeing those guys.
So we think Gleyber should be hitting fifth
or
having
sixth.
Rizzo.
I don't have any issue with him hitting fifth or sixth.
Okay.
I actually like the idea of hiding Gleyber and Stanton down the lineup a little bit, and moving Rizzo, because the thing about Rizzo is that, and I'm not overly high on him long term, but in the short term, you see a guy that's made adjustments. I think we saw the adjustments last year. Then he gets an unfortunate concussion, which just really ticked me off. But, he gets concussion last year, ruins his season. But think about before he got hurt, and like he had no idea what was going on. Like he kept telling the Yankees, I'm seeing 2 baseballs. I'm seeing 3 baseballs. Like something's off, and they just, didn't really take action, which we could get into a whole thing with that. But Rizzo at cleanup gives you, and Volpe at the 1 gives you 4 guys that are going to work the count. Assuming Volpe is going to play at this level moving forward, I really felt like he made some noticeable adjustments that we saw in spring training. So to see him doing that in the first game of the year, I don't see why he would revert back to the other form. I think
it tells us that they are waiting for at least a benchmark, somewhat of a long-term performance from Volpe. Now that could be a month, that could be 2 months. I would assume it's not going to be that long, but for a few weeks,
I don't know, because
if he's walking and he's stealing bases and he's just getting on base, it's something that he wasn't doing last year. He flat out wasn't working at bats.
No, but at the same time, like, it's not like LeMahieu's in right now.
Right.
Like Torres is a placeholder. Like they don't want Torres leading off. Torres is leading off for the time being. You know what I mean? So I really do think Volpe could take over as early as tomorrow. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening, but I would not be surprised if Boone came out and the lineup has Volpe at the top. Would not be surprised at all. And I think we'd all celebrate. Tomorrow, I expect to see Wells and I expect to see Birdie in the lineup. I think Cabrera is going to go back and forth with Birdie until he kind of falls off a little bit, because he's going to have a little bit of a hot start. It looks like have the fire lit under his ass going out and getting Birdie, but I think Birdie's just a better player, and I think he's going to take over. I think he'll fend off DJ LeMahieu, because I think LeMahieu's going to have a hard time staying healthy this year. And I think Trevino is going to have a hard time holding off Austin Wells' bat. But Trevino's still a hell of a defensive catcher, and that is why he was starting on opening night. So
yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see what they do with DJ, because DJ is making a pretty penny.
I know.
And we've got too many players on payroll that aren't contributing. I mean, we had it with Hicks last year. We had to make a move. Donaldson, we had to make a move, right?
That's true.
So the Yankees, I'm sure, you don't want to pay a guy $15 million and you say, hey, this guy out of Miami and Birdie, he's going to play over you. So I'm sure the Yankees are going to be finding ways to get him at bats. But if he's not performing, the Yankees do have a replacement. So good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, now, before we wrap this thing up, or as we wrap this thing up, tomorrow 1-0 Yankees, 1-0 on the road, take on the 0-1 Houston Astros. I just had to say that. 0-1 Houston Astros. 0-1 at home, by the way. 8:10 on Apple TV Plus. We won't get into how annoying that is. But
I won't be seeing it, I guess.
What we need to talk about is Carlos Rodon versus Christian Javier, which is the projected matchup. It's going to be the matchup, right? I mean, I would assume so. I said, it's funny, Oswaldo Cabrera leads the team in home runs and batting average. I think he sits the pine in this game. I think Birdie plays. I think he's going to be batting at the bottom of the order. I just have a feeling. And I think we see Austin Wells in this with the right-hander, in Christian Javier. So I feel good about tomorrow. I know Javier has given them fits in the past. I think they're really going to build off this. I think the Yankees are winning the series. I do.
Yeah. I mean, well, you remember when Christian Javier had a no-hitter going in like the 7th inning against us? This was like a few years ago.
Yeah.
But completely dominated us at Yankee Stadium. But this is what matters to me. I'm expecting the Yankees to work at bats, the usual. But the thing that I want to watch is Rodon. Rodon is going to be huge for the Yankees. And when broadcasters are saying that the Yankees have to get off to a fast start, they're talking about the lineup, of course, but they're talking about this guy. What's that guy going to do? Is he going to come out and is he going to be throwing 93, working on his cutter, walking guys, giving up bombs in the short porch in left field? Or is he going to show up like Hader did today in a small ballpark and sit guys down? That's what he's paid to do. So we need to see what type of shape his arm's in. We're going to look at the radar gun. I know it sounds ridiculous. We're going to be able to tell what his arm's feeling like, what it's looking like, based on how hard he's throwing probably in the 1st or 2nd inning, because he has something to prove this year. He knows this. He's healthy this year. He knows this. So for me, the most important person, I know I've always talked about the lineup. I've been doing it for weeks since this show started. That guy, Rodon, number 55, has to be Carlos Rodon tomorrow. And I know it's not a do or die game, but it's a sneak peek into who we're going to see, because if Rodon gets off to a slow start, it's going to be a rough year. We overanalyze things. We've got podcasts talking about opening day. Most other organizations don't. Okay. I know everyone's got these little niche podcasts. The Yankees got more of them than anybody else for a reason. We overanalyze, and these players know we overanalyze. So when they get off to great starts, it helps. It just does.
It does.
So I hope that he comes out. We're seeing at the very least 94, 95 and creep up into the 96, 97 range. Don't force it, but we'll be able to tell, is that coming naturally? Does he start the game throwing 97 and he starts dwindling back to 92, 93? We've got a problem. But we'll know very quickly.
We will. Christian Javier against the Yankees. So 2021, he only pitched one game, saw 11 batters, 100 batting average against him. 2022, 2 games, saw 44 batters, and they had a 0.053 batting average against him. And then 2023, they pitched 2 games, 43 batters he faced, and they had a 200 batting average. So it got a little bit better last year against him. But also keep in mind, Christian Javier had a down year last year, a 4.56 ERA and a 1.27 whip. I think the Yankees win tomorrow. I think they're going to get after Javier. I think we're going to see a okay Rodon. I don't think we're going to see great Rodon. I think kind of what we saw with Cortez is what we're going to see with the vets. Although I have a weird feeling we're going to get like a really good game out of what's his face? I'm totally blanking on his name. Number 0.
Ian Hamilton?
No, he's 71.
He's 71? I could have sworn he wore 0.
No,
Oh,
it's one of the starting pitchers. I'm totally blanking on his name right now.
Stroman?
Yeah, Stroman. I think Stroman is going to like pitch a gem. I don't know why.
Okay.
I have this like gut feeling. I also feel like Heel is going to pitch well, and I think Clark Schmidt's going to pitch well. But I think we can kind of expect a similar game, because here's the thing with Cortez: give him crap all you want. Facing Altuve, Alvarez, Tucker, Bregman, that's brutal. First four.
It is.
Which is why I had not really, but also why I had no confidence in Clay Holmes, because just having to go against those guys. But I think tomorrow, the Yankees are going to build off this, and I think we get a Soto bomb, and I think Stanton has that 2-for-3 game that you were talking about. I think
that'd be nice.
I think we'll probably see like a 7-6.
Javier, it's a lot of sliders.
Yeah. Well, Stanton
Javier is going to be snapping off a lot of sliders. And so it's a matter of, do you swing at the good ones or do you not? Last year, players made the adjustment and he gave up a ton of hard contact. The Yankees need to stay in the strike zone tomorrow. If they can do that, Rodon just got to keep the game in control. Pitch 5 innings, give up 3, strike some guys out in some big spots. They're going to come up in some big spots. And you look at that lineup, you're not just going to get away. This is not pitching against Oakland or Anaheim right now. It's not that. So it's a tough assignment for Rodon. Unfortunately, he's on the road pitching against probably one of the best lineups in baseball, especially the top of that order. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, Alvarez does pretty well against him. And there's a couple of guys have some success. So I just want to make sure that we temper our expectations, but we do need to pay attention to the things that are important, like health. And Rodon's health is the most important thing, because if he's healthy, I expect him to be really good this year. So it's what I'm watching for.
So with that said, Judge does not have a good time with Christian Javier. Soto walks a lot, shocker. And Stanton has a home run on the docket against Christian Javier. So
Sweet.
That's all you're getting. We're not going to go too crazy into it. We've already taken up a lot of your time. So yeah, we're going to try and do these daily. See how many we can do. It's going to be tough, but we want to cover this team to the best of our ability, and that is the best way to do it. So appreciate you guys hopping in here, listening along, watching along. You can follow Gary Sheffield Jr. at Gary Sheffield Jr. on all social media. You can follow me at J.K. Bogan on all social media. And you can now follow Yankees Unloaded on TikTok. So that is going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully the Yankees win. I believe they win. Gary, what say you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need a high scoring game. I let's just say 8-4 Yankees.
Okay, I have 7-6 Yankees. I think they'll figure out a way to make us kind of sweat it out. I have to watch Clay Holmes on the mound again and be like, oh, just sweat dripping down. With that said, though, appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, go Yankees.